Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode of Leadership Horror Stories. Bum, bum. If you don't know who I am already, my name is Danny D. I am an author, I am a speaker, and I am a voice and leadership specialist helping you own the F out of who you are online and offline while being an iconic leader, which means that we are always leading with integrity, communication, ownership, nuance, intention, capacity, and consent. What the heck does that mean? Stay tuned to find out. The very first leadership horror story I have was actually from the subreddit Leadership Horror Stories. I will start to be taking submissions. So if you've had an encounter with a boss or someone in a leadership or power position that was not super amazing, and you wanted to submit that anonymously to get my commentary on it, and to have your story shared, then feel free to email me. I will drop my email below. I'll also put links to my merch below. This is me as a Powerpuff Girl. This, my phone, she's holding it. I don't know if you can see. They have the same stickers, and this matches my book. Very cute. I know, right? Thanks so much. So this user has since been deleted, but their story still remains. So let's dig into it. I had a vice president, VP, that held weekly manager meetings, which were really just unstructured talk around the tables, stream of consciousness, 1 hour blocks of our lives. He came in fired up one meeting around the performance review season, saying, instead of spending time on people that are struggling, we should be giving most of our time to our top performers instead, so that our time is viewed as a reward. I have things to say about that, but I digress. Let's get through this first. He kind of tilted his head back with it too, like a TED Talk galaxy mind movement. Most of his ideas were equally skewed, probably informed by the previous night's airing of The Apprentice. Same VP scheduled one-on-one sessions with me. When I was told I could enter his office, he was still doing a one-on-one session with another manager. I sat down wearily, and the VP continued to berate the manager in front of me for 5 minutes. It really angered me in retrospect, just flatly unprofessional. I left within a year. Yikes. Yikes on bikes, friends. Let's break this down. First of all, we're talking about holding kind of unstructured talk around the tables. I don't think that's the worst. You just got to feel out your team, the energy of your team. Okay, is my team someone who values connection? What are their love languages? But literally, do they value connection? Do they value directness? Are they someone who's going to want that social aspect of like a 1 hour talk around table type situation? Or are these humans, or even is your industry more of a cut to the chase thing? Talk around the tables are super effective for people who like to talk around the table. Where if you have people who really value directness, you're a leader who likes that kind of like roundaboutness, and they're blocking off 1 hour of their lives. Number one, is that hour paid? If it is, amazing. And if it's not, make it paid. If it's something that is like in the middle of their day, you also have to respect and honor people's capacity. So some people maybe don't have the capacity to talk that long. When I talk about capacity, this cup, I want you to think about this cup with this beautiful sparkling beverage inside. This cup holds this much of this beverage. If I were to pour more beverage in it than the cup would allow, what would happen? It would spill over. And what happens when it spills over? It makes a mess. If this is your emotional capacity and you spill over that, what's it going to do? It's going to make a mess. You might act in a reactive way. You might just be a mess, and that's okay. So if you are not checking in with the capacity of your team, but you're expecting them to hold more social conversation that they can handle, maybe they're really focusing on getting a deadline done or something like that, they don't have the capacity to have a talk about nothing call. What they'll want and what they'll actually really value if they have a low capacity for socializing or conversation is they will value directness, whether that's an email or whether that's a 10-minute chat. Or as a team lead or someone who is a vice president, you can look and you can say, what is of value to this team? Because your capacity might be really, really big, but your team's capacity might not. And then you're expecting them to fill their cups beyond what they can hold. And that's actually not effective, because then people are either going to tune out, people are not going to want to listen, people are not going to want to be there, and they're not going to be present with you. And if you're continuously holding a standard where they feel like you're having a nothing talk, like stream of consciousness, like 1 hour block, that's not of value, they'll stop wanting to be in that space because they won't feel of value and they won't feel like you value their time. So That's really important. Another thing that I want to talk about is instead of spending time on people that are struggling, we should be giving most of our time to our top performers instead. I get this thought process of like giving people an award. What's that called? Salvador's dog? No, that's not right. Let me Google. Pavlov's dog. Pavlov's dog, where they ring the bell to feed the dogs, and every time they ring the bell, the dogs drool, and then now they are trained to every time they ring the bell, the dogs drool, right? Because they think it's food time. I get the rhetoric or the idea that it's like, oh, if we continuously reward top performer, everyone's gonna be like, I also want to be rewarded. But that's assuming everyone has a fawn response to trauma, or everyone has a fawn response to people in places of authority. If people aren't super trusting with people in authority, or they are not going to fawn over you, something like that's just going to make them mad. It's going to make them not want to actually perform. So what's different than that is taking a human first approach and seeing each individual as a human being. And instead of like a dog that you can just ring a bell and they'll come for or whatever, right? You want to really look at it and you want to be like, okay, these are different human beings. What are their needs? What are their core needs? You'll notice that when people feel valued, they work harder. How can you reach out directly to people and say, hey, what can I do to support you? And I think that's a really big thing with leadership is like, if you're in a leadership position, reach out to people and say, how can I help support you to do your best job? It's not just about them constantly supporting you, right? It's not about them just like working really hard to make your job easier. It's if you're in a leadership position, that's a lot of responsibility. And there's also probably a lot of responsibility for you to train people, for you to teach people, for you to guide people, for you to steward the ship. And there needs to be this aspect of mutual respect and also mutual support between you two. So that's all, folks. I'm sending you a world of love. Kick ass, take names, change the world. You're freaking fabulous. Stop being so secretive about it. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.